Greetings, continuing today in part 2 of the Messages to the Seven Churches, part 2, in our study of the book of Revelation. We left off yesterday talking about the test to try fruits and try people to be found out truthful ones or liars. I want to begin today in the book of Galatians, chapter 1 and verse 6, where Paul is writing to the Galatians about an error called Galatianism, which was work salvationism and falling from grace, if you please, if you don't keep up works. Kind of Judaistic law that must be added to grace through faith only. He says, I marvel that you are so soon removed from him that called you into the grace of Christ unto another gospel. Now, please look, that's not a period there. He goes on to say, which is not another gospel, not another of the same kind. But he says, but there be some that trouble you and would pervert the gospel of Christ. So there we find two facts in those two verses. There is only one gospel of Christ, but there are many perversions of that gospel. He says in verse 8, but though we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel unto you than that which we have preached unto you, let him be accursed. As we said before, so say I now again, if any man preach any other gospel unto you than that you have received, let him be accursed. 1 John 4:1 says it this way, Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try, test, probate the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Romans 3:4 declares it this way, but God forbid, yea, let God be true, but every man a liar, as it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. God's standard is the true and unchanging word. It is our responsibility to apply that unchanging word as he instructed us to do. Revelation 2:3 continues to emphasize the positive attribute, and you're having patience, and you bore because of my particular name, and you have not wearied out. The perfect tense is used there, which carries the idea of something that has begun and continues without interruption. The word borne means to bear up, to take up, or to carry. And the word patience is mentioned a second time in the present tense, emphasizing their continuing patience. So the word labored is also mentioned a second time in the aorist and is amplified out by the word borne. Because of Christ's name, they were bearing up in labors. This is the true motive for all acceptable service after salvation, for Christ's sake and in Christ's name. He says, you have not wearied out. That utilizes the perfect tense, meaning they were toiling and they were getting tired in the work, but they were not getting tired of the work. And there's one more positive mentioned here in Revelation 2:6. However, we'll not examine it in detail until we examine the negatives in the next message. You hate the deeds of the Nicolaitans. God liked the fact that the Ephesians did this. This becomes more important because the deeds which they could not stand became the doctrines of the church at Pergamos. Then we begin the letter to Smyrna, and we'll take that up in the next message.